everybody, and welcome back to our Winter Spectacular. I'm Camilla Cleghorn.
I'm Alex Marks.
I'm Chris Yee.
Oh my gosh, and we are going to be doing our top 10 games of 2022.
Yeah, which year?
So excited. This year that just happened.
Nailed it.
2022.
I did my homework.
I had to do the math again just to make sure, but I'm so excited, guys.
I know.
Oh my gosh, this was a difficult list for me to do though, because I got it down to like 20, 25, and then I was like, E, all the above. Like to go out was so hard. I feel like it was a really, really good year for gaming.
I thought this was a really good year. I think that's if I forget if it's after this today or sometime tomorrow. I did another 10 great games. I did an 11 through 20 because I had so many games that I really liked. And it pained me to even only go to 20.
Well, you did surprises as well.
I did surprises
as well. And so are any of the
well.
surprises on, because I assume they're not on this top 10.
No, none of the surprises are in my 20 through 1. Those are even just separate.
Wow, so you actually did a top 30.
Almost.
You're
Some
a
of those
cheater
surprises would be there.
and the worst member of the Dice Tower.
Yes.
I just want to make sure we're interpreting correctly.
Also, Alex is here.
Yeah,
Hello.
welcome, Alex.
I'm here. No, I'm very excited about my list too. I have some good picks, and I can't wait to explain some backstory behind some of them.
Fantastic.
Okay,
Alex
but
thinks
not
he
the
has
other
good
ones.
picks.
I think so.
Let's find out. But before we do find out, we have some shout outs here. We're going to do some shout outs from our Kickstarter last year. We have, here we go, Ali Alafifi.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Right? Nailed it.
Nailed it.
Veronica Gallagher. I know I got that one right. Veronica.
I know.
Heck yeah.
I know, yeah.
We played
Project Elite with
Project
her,
Elite.
right? Yeah.
Last year's
Gosh.
retreat.
Yeah, it's actually Project Elite with her 2 years in a row.
Very nice.
So yeah, it's basically a tradition
Oh, was
at
I
this
in the
point.
one the year before then?
Yes, yes.
my
You were,
God.
oh yeah, you were also in Project Elite with
So yeah,
us.
Yeah.
Veronica, our Project Elite buddy. Oh man, okay, first of all, I just have to give a shout out to the note on this one. The note is, pronunciation might be tricky, it's a Polish name. Thanks for the pronunciation guide. Here you go, this is what you get.
Also, you said
Andrzej Tucholsky, pronunciation guide. Andrzej Tucholsky. Thank you.
Pretty sure that's right.
Yeah,
I'm the
really?
authority of Polish pronunciation in this office.
Fantastic. Stephen Palterneri. Thank you. Peter Mulholt. David Yarin. Tyson. Yes.
Where would we be
So
without
cool.
Tyson?
Only one name. I love it. Shane Barford and Clark Bender. Thank you guys.
Thank you guys.
Appreciate it. Shout out. Woo woo.
Thank you all so much for supporting the channel.
Wow, we appreciate it. All right, and with that, let's do this. Let's jump into our top 10.
All right.
So, as you know, I enjoy a lot of big, heavy, themeless, ugly Euro
You
games.
do.
Camilla, I know
What?
that you are anticipating that this list is going to be chock full of them.
No, there were some pretty
Are
Euros
they
this year. I'm
beige?
excited.
There is no beige in this one.
Okay.
You're going to be proud of it. My number 10 is a game called Endless Winter.
Okay.
Definitely
All
not
right.
beige.
No, it has a white color scheme, if anything else. Now, this one is I really do like the art. I think that the Miko's art in this particular setting is so cool. But this is it's like a worker placement game that is. There's only 4 different areas to go to, and then there's a little process that you go through for each one. And it's coupled with a really neat deck building mechanism that can kind of beef out what you can accomplish at each of these areas. I like this one. It's funny because this was on multiple people's most anticipated games of the year list. I knew nothing about it. I only knew the fact that, oh, Mike's really looking forward to it. Camilla's really looking forward to
Yeah.
it. Everyone in the world is apparently really looking forward to it. And it just kind of came through, and I was like, oh, okay, this game, what is it?
Yeah.
I didn't know anything going in.
You probably heard about it and just discounted it because it looked so good.
I mean, I try not to be the person that's like anti-hype. Like, oh, everyone's excited about this
Yeah.
one. And I'm like, no, not me. I like my ugly cubes and stuff. But like,
Direct quote.
yeah. The look is really good on this one. But the gameplay is so solid. There's so much that you can do and explore. It's massive. It covers up the whole table and everything. I thought it was going to be one of those kitchen sink kind of designs. But I think I like it as much because it's rather tight, actually. There's a lot, but it doesn't feel like bloated for the sake of bloat. I really like this one.
That's one that I have not actually gotten to try yet, but I'm looking forward to trying it soon.
Yeah, no, I'd recommend.
And you talk about the Micho's art being so good in this setting. Not to spoil, but there's another top 10 list that one of our pre-recorded ones coming up, and I talk about just that. I was like, how the artwork really fits this theme because it feels cold and harsh, but yet kind of has that chibi cute at the same time. It's a really good balance of those two things. And I think the art is just phenomenal in this.
It's not brutal,
right.
but it's not also toothless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
There you go. That's my number 10, Endless Winter.
awesome. My number 10 is a nature game, which we've talked about multiple times, is really hot right now, or this year. It just seems like every month we played a new nature game, right? This is going to be Planted. Planted something, some subtitle that I can't remember. Planted, a nature crafting game.
A game of nature and nurture.
There we go.
Okay.
Nailed it!
Did you read it off the screen?
I didn't.
That's true. You can't see it in that scene. Okay, all right. Okay.
Too much light.
I think what I accidentally said out loud was, I can't read.
Yes.
So
I do know that. I wasn't going to call you out on it publicly.
my
but-
secrets are revealed.
Well, lucky for you don't have to in this game, all right? So in Planted, it's a nature game. And I think that this game just checked so many boxes. You know, I tend to be a shallow gamer. I want to visually enjoy my experience. You know, this is a very tactile game. I think the components are great, but then also the gameplay is just really simple and satisfying. It has this drafting, which is one of my favorite mechanisms. I love drafting. On your turn, it also has simultaneous reveal, so simultaneous action, so you're involved every single round. You're ultimately trying to build out your plant area. What do you call that?
Your garden?
No, it's not in a garden. It's in your house. Your sunroom. We're going to call it sunroom. You got a
Greenhouse.
sunroom.
I have a
Yeah,
sunroom.
there you go.
I don't have a place to put my vacuum cleaner, but I have a sunroom.
But you have a sunroom that,
Yeah.
prioritize. I appreciate it. And so I just really think that it's very simple yet pleasing. But also still maintains meaningful decisions in it. You know, you really need to know when are you going to collect resources so that you can feed and take care of your plants versus bringing another plant in, with some variable end game scoring as well, depending on what specific tools and cards that you keep to boost your scoring. I think it's just a really good balance of some simple mechanisms that's really, really pleasing. And so my number 10 is Planted.
That's Phil Walker Harding's bread and butter.
Yeah.
And it already looks deluxified too, which is something I like. The components that come with the game look deluxified, but they're great. I like it.
Like,
and the price point is fantastic too.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, really good point. That there's looking at the game that I don't know what else you would do to it hardly. You know, I mean, you're looking like it's great. There's nothing to deluxify.
We'll put an actual FICA in there.
I would approve of that, but yeah. So my number 10 is Planted.
All right, my number 10, I think, is the first ever Civ game that I've ever played. And that's going to be Age of Atlantis by Eldorado Games.
Oh, wow.
I knew nothing about it going into it. One of the guys in my game group brought it, and I was curious, and we played.
Was it Mike?
No, my
Okay.
game group back up in Fort Lauderdale.
Not
But
Mike.
this is a game.
Let's be clear.
No.
No, this is a game that's highly asymmetric, and you're building an engine, and you're trying to be the most politically affluent civilization in the city of Atlantis. I guess.
Miniatures.
And what I really like about this game is that it has an incredible decision space, to the point where, like, you can place your buildings out onto the map to try and score you points, but also you have to be cognizant that other people can use your buildings too, preventing you from using them. But you also might be
They
able
can
to siphon
try.
them a bunch of points. I also like the game because it's highly asymmetric. I kind of gravitate towards highly asymmetric games. I like specializing. I like being different where no one else can do what I can do. Age of Atlantis. Poseidon is the central figure of the game. It's a nice centerpiece. But my, oh my, I wish there was another player aid instead of just one to know your entire building.
Wait, is there one player aid?
There is
in the
one
whole
player
game?
aid
You have
for
to
a
share?
4-player game with tiny text that explains what each of your buildings
I
do.
have to share player aid
on-
and people can use my buildings?
Yes.
No, this is like sharing the game. Hard
Sharing
pass.
is caring, though.
This is
It can be
enough.
fun.
Exactly. No,
Rings down.
no, I don't want to say I disagree. No, I agree. This is one that's like on my radar. I didn't know you had played this.
Yes, I have played it. And I think the game rewards specialization instead of diversification. If you do something really well and you max out one of your building tech paths, you can just crush, hopefully, everyone else at the end instead of trying to diversify your tech tree. I also like that some parts of the game are player controlled, where you can actively choose not to try and move on to the next age until you have accomplished whatever you want to do to get more points. So it's player controlled, and I really do like that. Number 10, Age of Atlantis for me. Very,
right.
very good.
I'll have to check that out.
Fine. You can teach me the game.
Okay.
I'll allow it.
All right, cutting back to my number 9. Oh, I just realized, is that a Wisconsin Santa hat?
That is a Wisconsin Santa hat.
No
Go
game
Badgers.
symbols at the dice tower, my friend.
I'm throwing up the W.
Yeah, they called it out in the comments. I was like, you've already been tagged.
From Wisconsin.
All right, fine. I'll
Also Fort Lauderdale.
And for
Also that.
All right, my number 9, another big heavy Euro game here that I really enjoyed from this year about running a business, running the steel industry of the United States, and it's called Carnegie. Or if you're from a different part of the States, Carnegie.
That threw me
Carnegie?
off.
Carnegie.
I did not know until this year that was like, there are two very different and both very accepted pronunciations.
See, and I heard the second one. I thought people were making fun. Like I was angry. I was like, guys, that is disrespectful. Like, you know it's Carnegie.
Andrew Carnegie.
Right. I was so defensive. I had no idea. I thought that they were being rude.
Yeah.
Anyway, I had your back, Carnegie.
Yeah, apparently.
Carnegie sounds better.
And if you ask people, I forget from where he hails in England. I think it's like a Danish name or something like that. Like Carnegie is more close to.
I was wrong.
But I am not changing my pronunciation. Carnegie is an awesome game that has a very unique action selection kind of thing going on, where there are 4 different actions in the game. That when you choose an action, everybody benefits from it. Everybody gets to fire it off. But also intrinsically tied to it is that you're going to score. You're going to score for different areas that you have out on the map that you've built into. And so where you get that income is based on what action is chosen next. And so it's a really fun double-edged kind of sword of deciding, am I going to take this action because it's best for me, or am I going to trigger an income area that's best for me? Or, like with any good double-edged sword, you can kill twice as many birds with a single stone.
Yes.
Right.
When in doubt, kill the birds.
Right. Yeah, I'm gonna take
Never,
that quote
never
out of
doubt.
context.
Never doubt. Kill the
Never
birds.
doubt.
let me rephrase.
This is such a cool game. It's very unique. It's not like an easy. There's no like shortcut to explain it, which is both a little bit of a negative, right? As you're like, okay, well, I'm going to teach you this. Hold on, strap yourselves in. But on the other side, it's not like it's a worker placement game, but you get 10 workers. You know what I mean? It's not like there's no shorthand for it. It's really unique. I like it a lot. So that's why my number 9 is Carnegie.
Very nice. Also beige, but
Beige,
not a terrible beige.
But it has a very cool color palette
Yeah.
that's like outside of the normal, but also looks like a Euro game.
Right, yeah. Yeah, interesting. Very cool. All right, my number 9 is potentially overproduced. I could definitely see that side of the argument, but I love it. And it is going to be Wonderland's War. So again, I was talking in Planted how I love drafting. I think drafting is just one of my top, we'll say top 10 mechanisms, right? No, just I love drafting. And this is one of those games that has those 2 distinct phases as well, which is something I also really enjoy in gameplay, is those, one phase, then you wrap that up, which then affects your second phase of the game. And this has it. So in this one, there's a war in Wonderland, and you are trying to collect you're trying to build yourself up in order to have area control or influence when you go into the fighting or the area control second half of the game. So the first time you're going around the tea party here, around the tea table, and you have this interesting kind of push your luck element where you want to get certain things in order to maximize your different powers and build up your bag, because ultimately you're trying to build a bag that you're going to pull from with those push your elements. Kind of like Quacks, but also not at all like Quacks. It's about as far as the similarities go.
Battle Quacks.
Yeah, Battle Quacks.
Quack, 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 Mr. Ducksworth.
Right. And so you're going to be going around the table and you're going to build up, the chits in your bags and build up your player board. And again, kind of that push your luck where you can go, but you don't want to go all the way, or maybe strategically when you go all the way, because as soon as you go past that, that's when things refill. And so you're giving other options to your opponents as well. So a real balance of getting what you want and when do you want to trigger, refilling the tea party. It really leads to some tense and tough decisions, I think, right there, of balancing helping others versus what you want to do, making sure your bag is set as much as you want. Then you go to the second phase here as well, where then you're vying for control. And you have this asymmetry that you've built up, not only in your bag, but also in the players that you've recruited and how you have sent out your little minions and stuff. And it just really leads to a good cycle of play. You know, you're building up your bag, then you're going to war, then some things come off, and then you have to rebuild each time. And it's just really, I love the flow and the arc of this game. I love the feeling of getting stronger and still pushing your luck from the very first time to the last time. It's really interesting. It leads to really tense moments, and it is just a lot of fun and plays well. I think it does get a little long at the higher player counts, like up to 4 and 5.
I agree with that.
But man, for a 3-player game, even up to 4, I really, really enjoy it. The table presence is there, the gameplay is there, the interesting decisions are there. I mean, just, again, check, 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 check. You know, I really have enjoyed playing around with this one.
I would like to try this one at 3 and a table where everyone already knows the game, because my biggest complaint is every time I've played it so far, it's been too long.
Yeah.
But I could see the right conditions, it really moving up for me.
Right.
Yeah,
for sure. I would play it at 3 with new people or a new person, something like that. I would take it to 4 with people that know the game, that can kind of, you know, plan ahead and make those decisions a little snappier.
Yeah.
You know, for sure.
And I've only played that once at 5, and I agree, it is too long. I suspect 4 might be a sweet spot in terms of length, but I've yet to verify that.
But once you nail that down, I mean, the gameplay, it's just so interesting. You know, and I think very kind of unique as well in what it does, which is refreshing.
Very cool.
All right, so I suspected that we would have some crossovers, but I didn't realize that they would be this soon.
Already?
Boo, boo, boo. My number 9
Who's it with? Who's it with?
is
Play favorites.
Wonderland's War.
Yeah!
Come on! It is Wonderland's War.
I'm out.
Take that, Chris! No.
So, I don't know what more I can add other than your eloquent explanation, but based on the theme, this is my first exposure in a board game to Alice in Wonderland. I did not read the book by Lewis Carroll, never watched the movie. Actually, my first, I lied. My first experience with Alice in Wonderland was playing Kingdom Hearts, the video game. I was playing Kingdom Hearts, the video game. So I don't know if there's theme why all these characters are battling each other out, but I don't care. I really liked it. Like Camilla said, the first phase of the game is trying to build up your bag and other attributes for your character asymmetrically, and then phase B, you're going to town and trying to crush everyone. I like that a lot, and the production is fantastic. Minis painted are amazing. I definitely prefer playing with the deluxe bits, kind of like Quacks. I feel like for bag builders,
even better.
Those
little chips are so
Right.
I feel like for bag builders in general, though, like the deluxe chips are better than the cardboard.
Yeah.
They don't get lost in the bag as easily,
Right.
Especially if the bag has rounded bottoms.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I like the production of it. The artwork is fantastic, and then the push your luck element. I usually always break bad and push my luck the hardest.
Yeah, I can see that.
I need to control that urge. But
no, keep losing. It's fine.
But I have fun doing it. And graciously.
You can have fun losing. That's okay.
Exactly.
I like that.
This is one of the games where I think for me, I would buy the retail edition, but for sure buy the add-on of the chips. Like the chip upgrades are 100% worth it compared to like the minis or the custom meeples or anything else. Get the chips.
I would always go for the chips. Minis in games, I could care less. I'd actually prefer standees in most games. I'm one of those weirdos. But the chips for sure, I would definitely get the upgraded bits.
The chips.
I do like that because they were saying that in the comment as well, like, oh, I have no interest in this IP, but the game looks good, and so I think that's cool. Like, you know, I talked more about like the mechanisms that I liked and that kind of stuff, and also just the table presence. But you're like, I like the gameplay, you know. So it really does show that it can hold with a lot of different groups. You know, if you do like the Wonderland's War, if you like that kind of area control mechanisms, if you like, or not Wonderland's War, if you like Wonderland, you know, Alice, it really holds for a lot of people. You know, I think this game stands for both crowds.
Yeah, that is my number 9, Wonderland's War.
All right, my number 8 is continuing along the trend of my games thus far here. I think a heavy Euro game. And as I think about these are actually pretty good-looking ones. They're not like Wonderland's War beautiful, but I think it would be hard to argue that my number 8, Revive, is not a very good-looking game. That has some cool table presence and everything. Revive is from Aporta Games. I've liked a lot of the stuff that they've done. And I recently got to try a little bit more of their catalog, Trails of Tucana and the dice drafting one, the Santa Maria. They're a company that makes some nice, thoughtful games. This is one of their first that I thought was really big, like really sprawling. I like heavy Euro games, but if they're going to be big and sprawling, they have to have the oomph behind it to justify having a huge table presence like that.
Yeah.
Like on this picture right here, my player board on the right, that's half the player board.
Oh, wow, that's your player board on the right. That's not a second common board.
No, that's my player board on
Wow.
the right.
Yeah.
And there's another chunk of it that sits off to the side that's supposed to go into the little indent. But I have that underneath it because I can't fit it on my table.
Wow.
And quite the right way.
That is your table, isn't it? I think
That
I
is my
recognize- okay, that's
table
what
at
I thought.
home.
Yeah, that was the
so
case
trying to
here. I
visualize.
played it here with a bunch of other people, and it is just massive on the table. 4
Yeah.
players and the giant central board. It takes up some space.
It does. But I feel like this game is good enough that it earns it. Every part of your player board is very useful, and I really like that. The other part of it is like a custom player power, leaning into the asymmetry, and there's just so many satisfying different ways that you can go in this game. And so the fact that you have this really, I think, as you can see in that picture, kind of these rotating tech trees there in the middle. For some reason, I find that so elegant that as you move up different tracks, you unlock new machines that are custom to you. And if you move up certain tracks together, you unlock like better spaces in that machine. There's so many cool things going on in Revive. The theme, post-apocalyptic,
Is there
whatever, right? But that doesn't bother me very much. It's just a fun thing to go explore the map, build up your board, collect all those little discs on the side. And whatever you're doing, I think it's very fun. The card play, all that stuff is super good. So I really like Revive. That's my number 8 from this year.
Wow, I think so far, like that's like 2 from my Catch-Up Palooza. You know, my games of 2022 that I haven't played yet. You know, I think you were talking about the Age of Atlantis, and
yep.
then Revive as well. I think is high up there. I think I love the
Great asymmetric games,
yeah,
yeah.
the asymmetric players, those Euro mechanisms, and yeah. Anyway, so that's on my list. I need to try.
I
haven't
wouldn't
had a
think of
chance.
this as a post-apocalypse. It feels more like exploring an alien world.
Yes.
Okay,
honestly.
got it.
100%.
But if you think of it that way, you might be like, this is kind of cool.
Cool,
I'm going to
okay.
dig through the ditches and burn through the witches.
Yes, I do love burning through the witches.
Yeah. Slam in the back of my Dracula. That's like a 220 beats per minute version. So.
Right, yeah,
All right,
that
Camilla,
was good,
go
that's
before I
good.
keep digging myself into the dishes.
Oh, it's me. Oh, I'm sorry. I was waiting for Roy to hit the button. My number 8 is not quite the lightest game on my list, but pretty. I have a couple really light ones this year, which kind of surprised me. But this one is definitely on the lighter side. Speak about theme. I love this theme. I immediately saw it and had to get it and try it. And it is Dog Park. This is
Dog
a
Spit.
light game. I recognize that going into it, but similar to Planted, I find it very, very smooth. And it has a mechanism that I don't typically like. I don't typically like auction games. I find them very stressful. I tend to be very, in real life, stingy with my money. Like I don't gamble. I have a really hard time.
And
like,
with your compliments, mind
and
you.
with my compliments. I don't believe in them, actually. That's different. But I find that the auction kind of works in this one, and there's enough information going into it and in the way the player turns go that it's not stressed as well, so you can see what options you might end up with. You know, it's like all the options are out there. It's like, okay, I really want this one, but I'd also be okay if I lose this option or auction, because that's going to be probably the one I would take second. So you can kind of balance that, as well as, again, there's like phases of the games. And so then the next phase of the game is, I think if I had to compare it to another game, it'd be like to Trails, you know, where you can go as far as you want. You can't quite go as far as you want in this one, but same thing. You can go up to 4 spaces away, collect the resources there, ultimately trying to get the right resources to be able to walk all the dogs that you have in your kennel. I just find this very pleasing. You know, again, you have this auction phase that then leads into a dog walk phase, then a cleanup phase, and then you rinse and repeat. And I just find it, like I said with Planted, it's just these mechanisms that I think work really well with this theme. If you are a dog lover and you know dogs and that kind of stuff, you see that in it, and you can see that theme in the game and how it plays out, as well as it's just absolutely pleasing. So I think it's very pleasing. It's very visually stimulating. I really enjoy this one. I find if you know going into it, it's going to be a light game, and you're okay with the mechanisms it provides, then I find it goes over really well.
Which card is the best, and why is it the Golden Retriever?
It's not the Golden Retriever. There's actually an expansion
wrong.
coming out that's going to have a Great Weimer in it, so spoiler, it's going to be the best card.
Debatable.
I was not terribly. I was like, oh, I'll play this one if it comes around. But now that you say that there's an auction, I do like auction games, and I do like the sound of a not very stressful one. So anyway, yeah,
Right.
I'm more interested in this now.
Okay,
actually,
yeah,
hearing you
I'd be
talk
happy
about
to
it.
show it to you. I think you can play it really quick, and I think it's it's just a really pleasing game. If you want to sit down and just smile for 30 minutes and have a pleasing experience, I think Dog Part really does it well.
Nice.
Okay, my number 8 is a 2-player game, and I actually surprised myself putting this on my list because I usually don't gravitate towards 2-player games. I like games with more players. I like a little bit more interaction. But this one really caught me by surprise, and I had the first opportunity to play this when we were at the Dice Tower Retreat this year. And that's going to be Splendor Duel.
It just came out in time to we were like drove a
Can
copy
we
to the
include
retreat.
it? We can include it.
Yep. So I played it this year, so that's why it's on my list. This is a game that's not necessarily a follow-up to base Splendor, but it allows more options with a reduced player count, and I like how tight it is. You're pulling chips from a bag and placing them out onto the central board, and then you have to win. And with the win conditions, you can do 20 points. You can get, I think, 10 king cards or 10 crowns. And then you can also win by having 10 points of one color. I like those options. Very, very easy to remember and keep track of when you're playing the game. When I played it, it was a little bit of a stall tactic in playing chicken. Like, do I want to draw from the bag and put the tiles on, or the coins on there? And then my opponent is going to get to go for all the goodies? Or do I try and do something else that's not optimal, but I'm trying to force him to pull from the bag so I can get the goodies and the scrolls? I really like that. It was a game of chicken. There's stall tactics involved. And if you don't get one of the 2 pink gems, it's very hard, or at least I found. I was always having to pull from the bag because I could not get a pink gem to save my life.
Oh, really?
I couldn't get one. But that's Splendor Duel. I actually played the base Splendor for the first time in a long time, and I actually played it at 2 players just last week. So I could compare Splendor Duel to that. And yes, you can play base Splendor at 2 players, but I actually prefer Splendor Duel at 2 players.
No more
no
for
question.
me. No, Splendor Duel has. Oh, dang it. Everyone on the Dice Tower said, oh, this is a Splendor killer. And I hate that term. But no, it has eradicated any desire for me personally to play Splendor at 2 players or at any player
See,
count ever again.
I'll go a step further and I'll say this is not a Splendor killer. This is a Splendor saver, because I hate Splendor so much. I'm okay if it never exists, if I never see it, if it's never taught, if it's never talked about. I do not like Splendor at all.
If you had a time machine, you would go back in time and shoot baby Splendor.
Yes, absolutely. Splendor, baby.
Prevent it
Yes.
from being
Roy's mad dogging me, and
I taught you how to play Splendor.
I taught me very poorly how to play Splendor. No.
Oh, man.
It's not a hard game.
I don't know if I'd go so far as to say I don't wish it was Warren. I like Splendor. I like playing it with more players. But solely speaking for 2 players, Splendor Duel has me.
Splendor Dueler
instead of base
saves Splendor. Yes. So you saved a life, Splendor Duel.
Number 8.
My number 7 is the point in which my list takes a giant left turn. I saw a comment earlier that said, wow, these games are all Chris's in the first 3. My number 7 is teeny. It is by and far the lightest game on this list. It is called Vegetable Stock. This is one that
I never heard of that one.
I picked this one up on a whim.
Oh, this is a
at Essen.
terrible pick. I'm sorry, carry on, sorry.
Pick as in
No,
Have
that
you
was
played
not
this?
a pun. I take it back. What?
vegetable picking. Have you played this one?
I have.
You have?
I have.
You didn't like it?
I didn't.
I
found it perfectly averagely acceptable.
I love this. So this is it from the cover and from some of the cards. You might think this looks a lot like Point Salad, but it's quite different. It is a dead simple game from The company, the publisher is called Good Games. So you know
It's
you know
good.
what you're getting. It's from Taiwan, and I picked up a copy at Essen just kind of on a whim. It sounded neat. You deal a certain number of cards into the middle. They have 3 different vegetables on them. And then if the 3 of us are playing, there's 4 cards on the table. I pick one, Alex picks one, Camilla picks one. The one that's left over has, say, 2 carrots and a corn. The value of carrot will go up twice. The value of corn will go up once. And so whichever one isn't chosen will increase the value of those vegetables that everybody has picked at the end of the game. If it reaches the top of the track, the 5, and it has to move up again, it'll crash to the bottom. And then it can start recovering again. It is dead simple. It is 6 turns. It's 6 rounds of the game. You can play it in 10 minutes. I played it with my daughter in 10, 15 minutes. It is so fun. I 100% understand why someone will look at it and say, it is a game.
Yeah.
But for me, it's so charming how many fun decisions you get to make in such a short, compressed time with almost no rules. I've taught you all of the nuance to the game. Like, that is the rules explanation. That is how long it takes to play the game. I have so much fun with this. Every time I've introduced it to people, people have fun.
I mean, I could see how you would like this game. I mean, outside of you having poor taste in games.
Yeah.
But I could see it just because, again, it kind of has that track, pushing up that track, kind of push your luck, but also you feel like you have this track mechanism, which I know you like a lot. Yeah, it just was not for me. But I can definitely see
There's a
being in your kind of light and fun, but still interesting decision wheelhouse, kind of,
And that's absolutely it, right? I love this. I love being the second to last player in a round and saying, like, I get to pick one of these and leave you with these 2. And you get to play that small head game. But I don't like that moment in a really big, epic, long game where you're like, oh, we're going to play head games with each other. In this one, you're like, I picked this card. What are you going to do? Let's see. Uh-oh. I love that moment. So yeah, vegetable stock.
See, you love it, I rage.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, anything you rage, basically. So.
That's not fair.
Okay. Anything besides dogs and murder.
That's true. Okay, there you go. See? There's exceptions to everything.
My number 7, vegetables, like the teeniest, smallest game. A big leap down from Revive.
Yeah, right. But at the other end of the spectrum. My number 7 is a 2-player game, and I thought maybe this might have been a crossover, but no, it's not. It is not. It is going to be Caper Europe. This was my first adventure into the Caper games. I did not play Caper, the original. So the Europe is the first one that I've played, and it's a 2-player game in which you are assembling a team of burglars, and they're going out to different locations, gathering different gear, ultimately trying to steal the most valuable stuff. And I just find it a really interesting push-pull mechanism to this, with the 2-player games, which a lot of times you'll see that, you're trying to push and pull and when to make your power move and that kind of shift of balance. And I think this game does it really well and really smoothly. Again, it kind of has the it's kind of drafting. I don't know what you would call the mechanism, but I just find it really engaging, kind of the area control a little bit as well. It kind of skates the line of a couple different mechanisms that I like and puts it in a really compact, very smooth package, for 2 players that I find really, really interesting. You say, you were just talking about how you like that kind of that head game. I feel like this gives me that feeling, but instead of it being all head game, it's a little bit more of again, matching that push and pull and when to make certain moves and shift different balances. So yeah, I really, really enjoy Caper Europe as a 2-player game, as it is.
This is one that I haven't gotten an opportunity to play, not because it's a 2-player game. Like, I don't actively avoid games based on
Just
player
people.
count. But yeah, I just haven't had the opportunity to play, so I'll have to check this one out.
Yeah.
Is this one that you would play with Mike? Oh, no, only in Fort Lauderdale.
Oh,
Yes. All right.
it's you.
I know. So, story time. So last Spectacular, I was on the Dice Tower and I taught oceans, and you guys all out there now know that my background is in marine biology. You guys know that. But I don't think I actually specified what it is I did when I was in grad school. So back in 2010, after the oil spill, my advisor was tasked with intensively sampling the Gulf of Mexico for deep sea life, to the point where we sent giant trawl nets down to the bottom of the ocean. And by giant, I mean like the mouth area was the size of a football net. I'm sorry, of a football field. Football field.
I was
sorry.
I was thinking the net that goes behind the goalpost.
I
know
was
sports.
Sorry.
Yeah, I was like, that's
hold
pretty
on,
big.
I watch
area-
a lot of football.
The mouth area of this net was the size of a football field, so that's ginormous. So
Wow.
when I entered grad school a couple years ago, my project was studying the reproductive ecology of dragonfishes as a result of the oil spill in the Gulf. If you've never heard of a dragonfish, highly recommend looking on YouTube or Google images. It's awesome. But that
gonna do
segues
that,
into
right.
my number 7 game, and that's going to be the spill.
No, tell me more stories about
No, I want to hear about your grad
ecology.
school.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Well, you can talk to me after.
I want to
But-
see more pictures of dragonfish.
Dragonfish, look them up. They're fish down at depth. They live in the dark, and they're like glowing torches. They have.
Chris is looking
I'm
up.
literally
He's
looking this up.
actively looking up a dragonfish. Cool.
Continue
But
with your
the spill.
continue with your
But
game.
the
Yeah.
spill.
But the
is a
spill,
game.
you guys are talking about Splendor Duel being a Splendor killer. This is going to be a pandemic killer for me, and my background just enhances this game for me. I absolutely love this. The central dice tower that's an oil derrick is awesome. Dropping black dice to represent the oil dispersion, going out into different quadrants is awesome. The theme very much comes through standardly, but I even feel it more just based on my background from grad school and working with dragonfishes and all of our work that we did for that. I love the cooperative nature of this, going around trying to save the sea life. The charismatic marine megafauna is what we say. Dragonfishes are neither any of those. They are neither charismatic nor megafauna, but
Oh,
I knew that.
I absolutely love the different player powers in the spill, but for me the central thing of putting the oil in that oil tower is amazing, and I think the game, if it didn't have that, it would not be as good.
yeah. It definitely has a really neat toy factor that works well and fits the
Yes.
theme as well, right? Oil comes out, you don't know where it's gonna go. Like it's a gimmicky toy factor, but it works when you build the thing correctly. Which,
Tom,
if you
yes.
watch our playthrough,
We don't talk about Bruno.
that as well as so it fits the theme as well. You know, so yeah, that's a good choice. Good
And
pick.
if I ever have new gamers that want to come play with me, we want to play something cooperative, like I said, this is going to take precedence instead of Pandemic. Not that I hate Pandemic, I just like this game more, especially with the theme.
Oh,
I didn't think about. I didn't think about that. It's probably really good in your community. You know, it's probably a really good welcoming game. Like I've used Pandemic, you know, to welcome people to hobby and to play with people who want to see what it is I do and that kind of stuff. And so in your community, I can see that being a really good option.
Exactly, and I still have a
Fantastic.
bunch of grad school friends down here that
Still have
are not
friends?
gamers.
Aw, that's adorable. You still have friends?
Okay, you were dead to me.
I'm not one of them.
You are not one of them. But I do have a bunch of grad school friends that are still down here that aren't in the hobby, and I've played with them, and they really like it. And yeah, that is my number 7, The Spill. Fantastic.
Is this is a black dragonfish?
Yes.
That thing looks terrifying and ugly. Are you talking about the pretty dragonfish like these ones?
No. The thing with mincing teeth. We are still talking about dragonfish
Is
over
it this
here.
thing? That's a
think I need-
lionfish, isn't it?
No, that's a sea robin.
Tom, we need a dragonfish.
So it's this thing. It's this like
That
disgusting,
thing.
terrifying looking
That's
Yes.
thing.
disgusting.
The fact
All
that
right.
the fact that you study the reproductive ecology of these is terrifying to me. My number 6 is a game called Next Station London. This is a flip and right game. I used to not distinguish between roll and write, and flip and right, but I think I reached the point where I realized I really prefer flip and right games, and I almost feel icky giving into it. But like you have a central deck of cards you flip over, and everybody is drawing a subway route. They're moving from their starting station out to, you flip over triangle. You got to draw on one of these triangle routes. And then once everyone does that, flip over another card. Square, go to the next square station or so. The way that the map looks at the end of this game, looking like a subway map, is so cool. It's not what one might call terribly thematic. It's a roll and write, it's a flip and write style game. But it has those nice elements of the theme coming through, where you want to reach different parts of the city. You also want to reach you want to have a lot of stops in the same part of one of the little quadrants, little sectors of the city, so that it's a serviceable, usable subway route. And you also get bonuses for creating junctions where different lines connect to each other. Like when I first saw the map of this game, I thought, got it, don't crash into each other. And they're like, no, crash into each other constantly for bonus points.
Oh my gosh.
Not crash, but make junctions. And I was like, oh, got it.
See.
This really works. This is a fun, short, little, brief game. Not as short as Vegetable Stock, which apparently you were making fun of. Tell the world your truth now, Camilla.
Nope, carry on. You're number 6.
What is your truth?
They get no truth.
It was not the game she was thinking of.
I thought of a different game. I forget the name of the one I thought it was, but it's also terrible.
You haven't played Vegetable Stock yet.
I might not have played it.
Anyway, so
It doesn't look familiar.
Next Station London is a very fun little flip and write game. I've played this one on Board Game Arena digitally a lot. Like this is going to be my most played game of the year.
Really?
Yeah, because I've played like almost 50 times online. And then a bunch of times in person. But
Yeah, you taught this to me here, and then I accidentally cheated by having 2 trains cross. So
But you
that
wanted
you
them
call
to
that you-
crash.
I'm sorry, the lines.
I don't get it.
You want them to meet at a stop, not in a back alley in a knife fight. And Alex was basically giving them chainsaws.
I would fail as a city planner.
Yeah, keep working with Dragonfish, Alex.
I'll keep that up.
Those football nets. Yeah, stick to football nets.
Football field.
My number 6, an awesome flip and write game if you're looking for one of them. Next Station London, highly recommend.
All right, my next game, my number 6, is going to be the last one that I would start and kind of qualify it as a light game. There's other ones that are kind of light, but this is the last one that I'm going into. It. First thing I say is, you need to know this is a light game, and this is Transmissions. Transmissions has me on so many levels, or so many different aspects. I absolutely love the art. And this is one of those games where the art came first. And they're very upfront about it. Matt Dixon has been doing the artwork for quite a while now and has this whole world with these robots. It's not, I guess it's kind of post-apocalyptic, it's a very rusty kind of robotic world. And then the game came second, and the designer saw this art and was like, I want to make a game out of that. Approached, boom, now we have Transmissions. What I think is really fun about this is it has a kind of rondel action in the middle, and you have 4 different bots, and everybody is controlling them. So you know what you want to do. Do you want to go over here and expand your pipes? Do you want to collect these items over here? Do you want to go forage in the forest, and see what you can find to maybe get you some end game points, to get you some special power, something like that. You know what you want to do, but it really depends on the people in front of you, because you only have a hand of 3 cards and you're set up perfectly right now, but if they move that one bot, that option is no longer available to you. And I really like that the tactics of this game, that you're kind of watching, so you're engaged on every person's turn, because it could directly affect what you want to do. The robot is no longer where I need it to be. Let me switch real quick. Let me readjust and kind of, have that really tactical nature of it. I think it's very simple. I also love kind of building up your robots. Every time you activate a robot, if you've built them up with different ideas or given them ideas, then those ideas come into play. So you're kind of building your robots up and giving yourself little action boosts at the same time. And that's just a really fun mechanism. Again, there's nothing very like, this is really innovative, but like the other ones I said, it's just a very smooth melding of these, and you just find yourself smiling. It has enough interaction where I would not say it's player conflict at all, but it's player interaction to where you're engaged on other players' turns and directly affected by what they do, but it doesn't have that mean kind of element to it. So you talked about the spill kind of being that welcoming game. This is definitely a family weight game that I think people can pick up and just run with. And I find myself smiling in every play of this. It's just absolutely adorable.
Minis look cute. I do agree
Oh
with
my
you on
gosh,
that.
they are so cute. They're just little chunky.
You just want to pinch those robot cheeks,
I
and it
do.
will zap you.
He wouldn't. No, he wouldn't. He's a fella.
All right. My number 6. During the Autumn Spectacular, I had mentioned that I had never played a Marvel game before. and then we subsequently played 3 of them.
Oh, you
that
gave
year.
in.
I have since
You're a sucker.
I have since played 2 more.
How many Splendor games are on your list?
1. I have since the Autumn Spectacular played 2 more Marvel games, and one of them is my number 6, and that's Marvel Dice Throne.
Yeah, that's
Oh.
awesome.
That
Yeah.
is, it's just fun. Dice chucking is really what you're doing here. Trying to make some combos, and see what you get. My favorite character, Black Panther. Everything I know about Marvel comes from the movies. I never grew up on the comics, and I never read them.
Plebeian. Same, basically.
I lived under a rock.
I watched like the Spider-Man
Wisconsin.
series in the 90s, and that was
In the
about
snow.
it.
In the snow. But Marvel Dice Throne is my favorite of the Dice Thrones that I've played. I've played all 3, not every character, but I do like the theme of this one better than arbitrary other characters because I know about them. I know their background from watching the movies.
You don't feel connected to Guy with Sword?
Now,
Would you go as far as to say this is your favorite Yahtzee game?
I would say that, yes. Like I said, I haven't played
Bold
every
statement.
character
Bold statement indeed.
in the Dice Throne universe, but I've played a bunch of Marvel Dice Throne, and I absolutely love it. Again, fantastic production by Roxley. The art is fantastic. Components are great. Apparently, I don't think they're for Marvel Dice Throne. There's metal dice, but I know for some of the expansions on other series you can get them. Plastic is fine.
Yeah.
Metal would just wreck the table.
I say you like
Unless
metal
you
dice?
did-
Or like your player
not playing
board?
on
Like
a-
where would you?
not playing on a
that
hardwood
would-
Yeah,
table,
no, you're
that
not.
one,
You're not
no.
playing on that.
No.
Not on a softwood. But Marvel Dice Throne is just a chaotic, fun time. Whether you play it against someone or with a bunch of people. Again, I actually prefer this at 2 players because you have one enemy instead of rolling a die and leaving it up to chance to figure out who you're attacking. Although I suppose you can just pick who you want to attack. But I prefer this at 2 players. Marvel Dice Throne, awesome time. Rolling some dice. Keep on rolling.
I was going to say, I gave an inquisitive look when you said this because I didn't include this on any of my lists. I think because I've played all of the Dice Throne to this point, so in my mind it's kind of like, okay, this is like a re-implementation, but this would be somewhere high. I don't know if it would make my top 10, but it's so cool.
For some reason, I was thinking it was last year. I don't know if that's just when I played it, whatever, and so I didn't. But I agree. And I think what this superheroes, I enjoy superheroes. I'm very much probably the least
Marvel-minded person.
Marvel-minded person in the office by like a lot. But that being said, I'm not anti. I just, it's not my thing. But still, I think what superheroes are known for is they all kind of feel overpowered, right? And I think this really encompasses that very, very well. You feel like that. You get this and you're like, oh my gosh, I have this in the bag because Black Panther and he has this suit and I'm going to build him up and then he's going to go off, and you feel that in it. And all of them just feel so broken.
Wakanda forever.
There you go. That just makes for a really, really fun play. So yeah, that was a good choice. I approve yet again.
Awesome.
Not bad for a man in Wisconsin.
Yeah,
right.
there you go.
My number 5 is the first of 2, count them, 2 games that have an exclamation point in the title.
Aye.
Yes.
Be sure to yell them.
I'm going to read this with full punctuation to make sure to get the effect across. Caesar! Exclamation point. Colon, seize Rome in 20 minutes. There is both
Which
an
one?
exclamation point
Oh, that one.
and
Okay.
a colon next to each other. This game is madness. I really like this game. I don't think that you've played this, so you have no
I
room to
haven't.
criticize.
I can criticize punctuation, though. I disagree that I cannot criticize it.
No,
Hold me back.
I really like this game. This is a follow-up. This is a sequel to Paulo Mori's Blitzkrieg! Exclamation point. colon. World War II in 20 minutes. So this takes a game that was originally a kind of a tug-of-war thing, kind of like how Caper Europe has that tug-of-war thing. What that did, instead of doing this tug-of-war thing for 5 theaters of World War II, it turned into this very hideous map. This you can criticize.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, it
That is awful.
It's
Like, this
not
is
a
not
liquor.
prototype.
No, this is from PSC Games. This is I think they primarily do war game publication. So this might be the
So
prettiest
they
map
don't
they've
care.
ever put
Oh
out.
my gosh. Well, we appreciate your effort. Try again.
Yes, that's how I feel about that, exactly.
So this is a bit of a bag pull game. You have some tokens behind a screen. It's just a head-to-head game. You can put out a token onto a matching space, ships or legionary fighting spaces or shield spaces. And so you are trying to complete regions. You're kind of playing the dots and boxes type game. If you're the person that closes the box, you get a bonus yellow token. But when a box is closed off, you then count up who has the most strength in that area. Your tokens have strength on two different sides. And so you assign a 6 on one side, 0 on the other, 2 on one side, 4 on the other. So you're trying to have the most strength in a region, and you get a victory point out there. It's a race to 12 points. What I love about this is that this is a game that has enough depth where you might close off an area where you're losing the battle for strength because that bonus token is that important. And so you have great choices where you can say, should I just keep trying to win regions and put out victory points quickly? Or should I try and get these bonuses? Where do I think my opponent's going to play? Where do I think that they're restricted to be able to play? This is so cool. This is also my most played solo game of the year, or second most played. Next Station London and this are both ones that I've played a ton solo, and I really like them. So Caesar Sees Rome in 20 Minutes lives up to its name. It feels like a fun tactical kind of a map-based game. Also plays in 20 minutes. The box does not lie.
For once, it doesn't lie?
It doesn't. More companies should live up to this. So I really love this one. I don't anticipate you to like it. I think Alex would because he has better taste.
I think my interest has waned over the last 5 minutes. Yeah, you guys can bro it up because hard pass.
I do not think this is a you type of game. I don't think it's for everyone, but I think it's actually for a lot of people, even people who might say I don't really like tactical games. Like, well, try this one out because it's different.
Yeah.
It's really cool and fast, lightning fast. There you go.
All right. Well, my next game is a very anticipated game from a designer that I love and respect, and have had very few disappointments with. This one I think had some disappointments and some not quite backlash, but soft backlash when it came out because of the length of it. And it is straight up a Euro game, but it is a gorgeous one. It is now or never.
You like Euro games?
I do like Euro games if they're thematic and pretty and engaging. And
we played this one together.
We did. Did you like it?
I did. I thought it was very long, F4.
There it is. See, he's already complaining. Tell me more.
Tell me more, tell me.
No, okay, no. Tell me of it. You're cut off. Yeah, I really enjoy this one. So this is set in Ryan Lockett's Arzium, I believe it's called, the universe, and this is the third in a series of games kind of finished off this trilogy of games. So this is set after the after the Near and Far, when you were trying to reestablish your community or your city here. So you have these slightly asymmetrical characters, and you are going out on different kind of quests, trying to build up your character, fight off monsters, and ultimately just have the best city or the strongest city at the end of it. And so I do agree it can be long, but I counter that with, but it's not too long. I think going into it where people are coming from above and below, and then Near and Far, they kind of had those expectations, and so they aren't expecting to sit down to a 3-hour game. I think I heard that going into it, so I knew it, and I don't think it is too long. I didn't feel like it overstayed its welcome if I went into knowing it's going to take this long to feel like I got the whole experience of this play.
And I think you're the only person in the office who had that going into it.
Yes.
And I think everyone else said, no, this outstays its welcome. It's good, but I think that you knowing that,
right.
I think you liked it the most out of everything.
I knew it, and I had a teacher with it. The person I played was not learning it at the same time.
Oh, okay.
And so it
helps.
didn't add to that time either. So it really was just a 2.5 to 3 hour game, as it should be. Probably slowed down even more because I was just having fun. And I was like, ooh, fight a monster. Ooh, whoops, I wasn't ready. My bad. I got destroyed. And so I really, really like this. And I think that it unfortunately had some, when it came out, it had some expectations that got tagged on it. And so it fell short. But for me, not having those expectations necessarily, and then being given the expectations, knowing what I was going into, I think the game is really solid, and it's one that I would love to play more. So
And,
yeah.
And when we play, I think it did overstay its welcome a little bit, but I've only ever played it that one time.
Mm-hmm.
I know since then, I think Ryan Laugat's come out with like an abbreviated version for like
Yeah.
a shorter campaign or whatnot. But that is something I would consider going back to again, definitely with a lesser player count,
Mm-hmm.
and also playing with those abridged. The abridged campaign mode.
Like a quick start or something.
A quick start, yeah. And that's actually the first Ryan Laugat game I've ever played.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, I'd be interested to try that. I haven't had a chance to try it. I have heard of the abridged version, but I was also happy with the extended version. I also know that I have a propensity for that. I would rather have a longer gameplay, but feel like I got the whole experience. You know, so a lot of times if there are the longer modes in games, you know, the Obsession, for example, I always play on the longer side of the board because I want that full robust experience. But I'd still be interested to play the abbreviated, just see how it plays.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have lots positive to say. I think Now or Never is a really solid game.
Mark my words, 2023 is going to be the year of Ryan Laugat for me. I'm going to actually play some of these games that I have just, for some reason, not gotten around to. Above and Below or Now, Near and Far. I might try out Now or Never. There's a lot that I just, Islebound. There's so many
really
I
like
have not
Islebound.
played of his,
Same.
and I like his design philosophy. I love so much
Yeah.
about what he does, and I just missed out somehow. So
Yeah. So you haven't played Now or Never then?
I have not.
So I would wonder because again I think it's you because you like those Euro mechanisms. You know, I think that you'll see those kind of roots in it and really see the game behind the world. But yet it still has that narrative nature to it, which is it's just fun and interesting and kind of sways the game. You know, I love events or things that kind of side rail you, and it's how do you adjust to those as you go. You know, so I wonder if it'd be the right mix of that for you.
I'm in. Ryan Laugat, 2023. I'm coming for you.
All right.
Alex, go before I continue to make threats.
Yeah, right.
All right.
Save him.
My number 5 is one Kickstarter that I've backed, and I don't back too many Kickstarters. I think I can count the number of ones that I've backed on one hand. But of any game that I've played, I think that this is the magical world that I'd want to be transported into the most. My number 5 is Flamecraft.
Disagree. Sushi Go, but continue. I want to live in the Sushi Go.
You want to eat little animated sushis.
Yeah, so badly. Please save
Wow.
Fish
you want
are
to eat
friends, not
live.
food.
You want to eat live raw fish. Ooh.
Yeah, my number 5 is Flamecraft. Very first thing that attracted me to this game was the artwork. I mean, come on. You got little dragons firing up towns, making goods and food for the little artisans there. And I really liked it because when I think of dragon in like fantasy, I think of like big, scary dragons that are aggressive or whatnot. No, this is completely on the opposite end of the spectrum. Cute dragons making food and other things for the townspeople. But what I really like about this is the variety that you get with the shops and the combos that are born from the shops that come out. Going to a shop to do this one thing that lets you do this other thing, to let you do this other thing is just a satisfying feeling. It feels so good to pull off those insane combos. And when those shops come out, seeing the different shops that do come out, and of course the puns are fantastic. They're great. I really like the Dice Tower promo card that has the puns on the different board
shout
games.
out.
Shout out.
There's the most like subdued shout out.
Shout out.
Shout out.
But like Shroom Haven is great. The puns really come through, and the artwork is fantastic. One of them even references a Pokemon and the Piranha Plant from Mario. Sundara Tang's artwork is great. How can you not like it? I think you even said that you don't like it, right?
The game or the art?
The art.
The art.
The art, I find it fine. I'm not drawn in by this art. I know I'm the outlier in that. Trust me, they have
Your
all
words sting
berated
like
me.
acid rain on the
That's
wounded
what I
petals
was
of my
going for.
heart.
But I am really intrigued. But you were talking about like the fantasy and how you really like those mean. You usually think of it like
was
that.
kind of like a breath of fresh air because when you think dragon in
I want to see
In
angry dragons baking bread. That's what I want, like a scorned female, in the kitchen,
just
angry baking.
Smog baking food.
Everyone nuts at home.
Yeah, see, I think that's maybe what I want. This one, I find this one, it's fine.
I love that.
It's a book I would read with my toddler, and then put them to bed and never look at again.
Now, I would live in this world.
But
I would totally
completely,
live in this world.
Yeah, that's Phil, the bread baking dragon. Like,
I know.
Yeah.
It's so cute. I love it, and there's some nice little strategy involved in terms of where you want to go first to pull off those insane combos. Very, very light rule set to understand and teach, which is great. And I think this is a game that'll get people into the hobby. It might be a little step up from a welcoming game, but I think the overhead of rules is easy enough for someone completely inept at board gaming to comprehend and get. That's Flamecraft for me. My number 5. What is it? What did I say?
Five. I will
was
say,
right.
I am intrigued by the gameplay of this one. So yeah, I'll check it out.
My number 4 is a game that could easily have been themeless, and it practically is, but just a little bit of the caring touches that went into it, I think, help elevate it. My number 4 is called Turing Machine. This is a logic puzzle, kind of masquerading as a board game. You can play it multiplayer, you can play it solo, and it's basically the same experience, right? But what this one does so well is that it's such a fun and interesting puzzle that has a toy factor to it that I love. With these punch cards that you put together, you're trying to solve a 3-digit code, 1, 5, 3, for example. And so you get these punch cards that have, the first, the second, the third digit, and you overlay them. And the way that they mechanically designed this is that all little punch cards will overlay just so that there is one little hole left out of everything, and then you compare it against these different conditional tests. Is the blue, the first digit, bigger than the yellow, the third one, or the second one? Is it a sequence that will that continues to rise up? And you get kind of this yes or no binary answer from it. It's so cool because it is about deduction and computer logic type gameplay, and it could easily have just been like an app where you type in some stuff and it says yes or no. But the fact that they went with this physical form factor is so satisfying. Playing with these ENIAC-style punch cards, that I've never used one of these. My elementary school was very behind the times in computation. I played Oregon Trail on an Apple IIe, in the 90s. It was, we were behind the times, to say the least. But I never used punch cards and stuff. There's something so satisfying about playing a fun puzzle, a fun little logic game, but also just having that great production. The box itself has perforated holes as well that you can line up and stuff. Everything about this is fantastic. I think Scorpion Mask did an awesome job.
This is a game where it just blows my mind how the designer came up with this or is even able to put something like this together. But I have absolutely zero interest in playing this whatsoever. I will give the designer props for coming up with something like this, but I just have no interest in playing this at all.
All right, so I'm going to be a little vulnerable here. What is Turing? Because I at first thought this was Turning Machine. Then I thought it was Turing Machine, just said really poorly. Oh. And now I see that it's Turing Machine, and I don't know what a Turing is.
Alan Turing.
That's a person.
It was a person. He was one of the early innovators of computer science. And
Got it. Okay.
The Turing machine name is a little bit of a misnomer because the Turing machine is not actually a machine. It's a process by which computers can analyze information. I probably said that kind of wrong.
So they'll let you know, no worries.
Yeah, the computer.
Feel free to destroy
the computer nerds in chat will tell me that I'm wrong.
Tell me how wrong Chris is.
But even though it's not actually, the Turing machine is not a physical object like this game is, it's still a really nice homage to someone who is so crucial for us to get to the point where we are. He worked a lot in decryption. He worked for the Royal Navy, I believe it was, during World War II to decrypt the German codes and stuff that they would use to relay messages. He has such an important impact on history that like I said, this could have been a themeless game. Solve the number, right? But the fact that they called it Turing Machine is, I love that little touch. And so, I don't know, I'm particularly impressed by that little detail too. So I'm glad that you asked, but
Interesting.
I
There
don't want
you
to go
go.
on a whole tirade, and now I have. So
We appreciate that. Well,
I didn't know
forgot
what it
I-
is either, so yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
well,
there's a movie you can watch. They're talking about the Benedict
I
Cumberbatch,
could.
The Imitation Game.
Should I see that or
would.
Austin Powers 1 first?
Yeah, baby.
Just go.
All right, my number 4 is a game that I expected to like. This was on my most anticipated list for the year. I went in thinking I would love this game, and I did. I did a lot of research into this game when it was on the Kickstarter, went back and forth, back and forth. So I kind of feel like I knew what I was getting into. It's probably one of my most researched Kickstarters before I backed it because it was expensive at the time. But this is going to be Oathsworn Into the Deepwood. Oathsworn Into the Deepwood has fantastic miniatures. Oh my gosh, I love my big miniatures. I love my big nasties. But what I really think that this does well in, and we've seen this before in like Kingdom Death Monster, I know is one that it's compared to a lot, but it has these 2 stages again. It's going to have your stage where you are in the village, in the town, and you're furthering the story. You're making some choose your own adventure kind of decisions. You know, do you want to talk to this person? Do you want to go over to here? You're typically trying to meet some kind of goal, or there's some kind of timeline that you have to do it within, but it feels a little micro open world in a way, you know, that you can go around and do all these different tasks and kind of build up and further your story. But then you go out into the Deepwood, see? So you go into the Deepwood, and then that's where you're going to have your big boss battler. And I love that all the bosses feel different. Well, not all of them. All the ones I've played and looked at, they feel different. They look different. You have to strategize differently. And it's just really quick gameplay that also has this neat element of you want to ultimately take down the boss and the bad guys, but you need to be careful how you do it, you know, because if you take them down too early, it might backlash on you. They might get more powerful the more body parts you destroy. Is that how I say? I don't know. You know, the more you hack them up, the angrier they get. And so I just think it leads to things. And so it just leads to some really interesting cooperation. And so this is a cooperative game, and I love games that do that well, that they make you have to cooperate and make some of these decisions together, play on each other's strengths. You know, hey, I need to take a rest and maybe build this up because I'll be more helpful later if I do this. So can you cover this for this round? And you really have to have that high cooperation. And then at the end of all of that, there's usually some sort of follow-up again where it brings that story back in. So you very quickly in this campaign see your choices come back to help or hurt you, haunt you, you know, and there's also some choices that you make where you're like, that's kind of a cliffhanger. I don't know what's going to become of this. You know, do I lie or not lie? Well, I'm choosing to lie, and we will see how that works out. So you're just waiting for that to come back, and I just think it's such a great marriage of storytelling, choose your own adventure, boss battler, making important decisions, cooperative. It's just such a fun, good, compact experience that I feel like also with these big games, the first couple, especially these campaign games, sometimes it takes a while to kind of get the hang of it. I felt like Oathsworn, even though it is this big scope of a game, we got into it pretty quickly and understood the gameplay quick enough that first play, I felt like I was contributing to a meaningful decision. Mm-hmm. And that is huge in as big of a scope of game that is, for it to be able to boil it down. I really, really enjoy this game, and I think it is one of the few times I can say exceeded kind of that hype value for me. And I was super hyped on it. And so for it to exceed that, I think is really something special.
Are you currently painting your copy?
No, I'm not. No.
No.
That's it. It's a lot to undertake. I'm in a couple other projects right now that I'm kind of focused on trying to wrap them up first.
Sure.
But
I'd like to play this one some more. This was on my surprises list because I thought it was going to be a big dumb game.
Yeah.
I didn't back it, of course, but I describe it as a big dumb smart game. It really,
that's a
it
good way to
gives
put
you
it.
all the like monsters and stuff, but it's also really well done.
Yeah. So, thanks.
All right. My number 4, I've played many times at conventions this year, and I'm just going to come out and say it. It's Ready, Set, Bet. We are off to the races, ladies and gentlemen.
No, thank you.
I don't know if I haven't settled on if I consider this a party game yet. I'm of the inclination that it is, but it's a little bit more involved than just a simple party game.
Maybe like a heavy pot. It's like a heavy Party game.
You want to do some math, kids?
Yeah, right?
Oh my
That'd be
word!
great.
Oh my word! Is this a lot of fun? I don't know if it's because Tom's hosted it every time that I've played, or it's the group that I played with. But man, this is a game where you are up out of your seat. You are getting into it, and you are just going crazy, trying to throw down your chips and get your horse to victory and across the finish line. Cheering on horses. I thought Long Shot was great for me this year. This took it even up further for me. I really like this a lot. Again, it is group dependent. You're building off of each other's enthusiasm.
It's Camilla dependent. You can admit it.
Yeah, if I'm in the game, you probably won't enjoy it. I would be this game's killer. This one makes me salty. I try not to be. Makes me salty or seethy.
This is a game that's just begging for upgrades too. Like you can upgrade the little player tokens, or I know you guys have a wooden copy with the horses that slot in and are. I guess they stay in their spot so they don't get accidentally knocked.
You won't actually nudge them. I think that's from David from Woodfish Toys. And I saw someone else actually have one.
It wasn't Jordan. It was Bruce, maybe. I think Bruce.
I saw someone in the Facebook
yeah.
group put up a picture of it, so you might be able to look it up. I don't know if he's custom making it for people, but you could upgrade this game for sure.
We'll pay for it.
Yes.
And so, like I said, I've only ever played this with Tom as the horse runner. I've actually never played as the horse runner in any of my plays of it. Doesn't matter. I was still a bettor on the races. Still so much fun for me, even if you go broke by not winning your bets. But on talking about that, I like how you can't lose all the money that you bet. You can bet a certain amount and then hopefully you win, but also you only lose a couple bucks here or there. Unlike real world where you bet or you just lose it all. No, I don't have a problem, but I do not like gambling in real life, but I really liked the betting mechanism in this. That's ready, set, bet for me, number 4.
Pains me that this couldn't make my top 10.
I've
There's
rarely,
so many good games
rarely
this
been
year.
as angry as I was in my play. And it was actually Wendy in a play of this game, and we're sitting there. And just because of position at the table, I'm going for something, and I don't know if it was nefarious or what.
Oh, it was nefarious.
Going for it, she was like, "Hiya!" and put it down, and I swear, you can see my hand like, back off, it's a game, but your life is in danger. I was so mad.
I thrive on that chaos. I
legitimately-
like that.
You're going to thrive in death because I was actively
Going to the
plotting her
spot.
demise in that
And
moment.
she
I
beat
was
you.
so mad.
Let's
I was
move
so
along
mad.
before you incriminate
I was
yourself some
right,
more.
yeah. Wendy is live and breathing, I'm pretty sure still, so I'm okay to say this. But
Ready, set, bet.
I will be the auctioneer from now on. Chest.
All right, I need to confess some
I know,
of
yeah.
my anger against
I
other
feel
Dice
better.
Tower
Thank
people.
you.
Roy!
Thank you, Father.
Roy's the man. Thank you, Roy, for running this. Number 3 for me. This is I'm almost surprised this one isn't higher on my list. That's how good of a year this was. My number 3 is a Shem McDonald and Shem Phillips, Sam McDonald team up, Wayfarers of the South Tigris.
I didn't think
am
you
so
liked this. Okay.
Oh, you didn't think I liked
I
this?
didn't think. Okay, I mean, now given it was when we were at the Airbnb up in PAX, and so I was only hearing comments like peripherally, and
Oh.
so based on, whatever, I didn't think you walked away positively. So this is a surprise for me.
I was playing it with Jason, to be fair.
Oh, the comments were about him. Never mind, it clicks now. I got it. I take it back.
No. So I taught this to Tom there. I had played it a few times already
Yeah.
before. I like this tremendously. This is the start of a new trilogy because Garfield Games has their acts together so well that they don't announce a new game. They announce their next phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe at once. Like, oh, yeah, we're going to the South Tigris. It's all going to have dice manipulation and stuff in games. We're going to release the heaviest one first. The second one's going to be this one. We have 17 expansions lined up. Like, they have their act together. They have also earned my trust at this point. They have so many good games in a row. This is a complex one, but it still feels unique from their other games. But if you are a big fan of Garfield Games, then you'll feel welcomed to the table despite how big of a widespread this has out there and a lot of different mechanisms and things to chase for because they have a signature to their design. They have a signature to their graphic design and their presentation on things. You build up a huge tableau of really cool cards. You explore space. You explore land and sea. You have some really cool ways to customize your dice. This is a bit of a dice placement game with a little bit of worker placement mixed in with set collecting and stuff. I will not even attempt to describe this game overall in scope right here. We have a review where we talk about it. It's so fun where every element, everything that you're doing just kind of builds you up in some way, customizes you, distinguishes you over the course of the games as you like, you know. This one's fantastic. I love it.
And you feel like this is a good jumping in point.
Ooh. I would jump in personally to Garfield games with Raiders of the North Sea still,
Got
or
it,
maybe
okay.
Architects.
Got it.
But I mean, but if you're a big heavy gamer, then yeah, like jump on in with this one.
Okay.
But I think that Garfield games has worked this identity. So even if you went from playing nothing like from Raiders of the North Sea to this one, I think that the iconography is consistent enough that you could say like, I get what's going on. Their stamp, the way that they design and develop things, you can kind of jump from one to the other pretty easily, even though this is a complex game.
There's a couple games that I've excluded from my list because I just have not yet had a chance to play them. I suspect...
Good exclusion, yeah.
We appreciate your restraint.
This one may have appeared on my list had I been able to play it this year. I do like Sean Phillips a lot. Paladins is my favorite of the games that he's designed.
Then you have a pretty good chance of liking this one because it's similar in weight and scope, but different in mechanisms.
Yeah, I watched the playthrough. It's something that's right up my alley, the diversity that you can do with the cards.
Yeah.
Something that I would really like to play soon, but I haven't had the chance to yet.
What you doing tonight? It's my birthday.
Absolutely nothing.
How are you going to say nothing, no to his birthday?
Nope.
All right.
Nice. Awesome. All right. My number 3 is a very recent game, probably the most recent game I've played on here. Actually, I know it is because we just played it the other day. Check out our playthrough. It is Heat, Pedal to the Metal.
Oh, man.
This is such a good racing game. I think there's a lot of racing games out there, but this one feels like more than a race. You know, because you're having to make so many different decisions about your car specifically. You know, what gear to go into, where to push your luck, how to try and take your corners. Do you slipstream? Do you not? Like, there's so many little micro decisions that you're having to play. And I really think in every single play of this game so far, there's been somebody who gets behind. You know, but in every single game, it tightens right back up. And I love that. It really shows the what am I looking for? The
Implication.
Implication
Okay.
thing. I was like, implementation. No, the implication. Well done, Chris. Of those little decisions that you make. You know, how it really is a race. And whether you play with those AI characters, they're right there. They have a really good chance of winning. But so do you if you make those decisions right. You know, it's a really well-designed AI that can take a 2-player game to feel like 5 without a whole lot of heavy overlording at the same time. And so I really just think that this is a great racing game where you feel in control of your own individual car. Feel like all those little micro decisions you're making have such big effects that keep you in the game. And honestly, it's not until like the last quarter of the game that you have any idea where you stand and who's going to win. You know, I just think it's absolutely fantastic. It's a fantastic production. So much comes in the base box as well. So much variability with different modules, with different maps. I really just can't sing enough praise for this game. I really, really enjoy Heat.
So a lot of race games, yeah, that's the theme, but gameplay doesn't necessarily translate to it feeling like a race because it slogs on. Did you feel that with Heat?
Yeah, no, I definitely think, I mean, one, the theme is racing, you know what I mean, which just naturally helps with that. But it also does feel like it because at some point you're going to be that person in front, probably, and at some point you're very likely going to be that person in back as well. You know, and so you really feel that good push and pull, like, oh, wait, I've got to catch up. You know, you really feel like it is a race to stay with the pack until you can kind of, on that final curve or final run, slip ahead.
Can you throw blue shells at people and explode them?
You don't know. That was my same question. I said, where is the, I mean, that was my exact comment. I was like,
You
where's the
expansion one.
Mario?
You heard it here
Yeah,
first.
yeah, that's what I'm like. That's what I want. But there are some extra holes in the base box. Where it looks like obviously it's planned for an expansion to take it up to 6 and 7 or 7 and 8.
7 and 8.
7 and 8 players.
Anticipate.
And I think it's so smart because it's like it really could play that many people. Still feel fast enough. Still feel the tension of that decision to where you really do feel like it's a race, but it's not a race that's determined within the first quarter of the game. Where you're like,
yeah.
I'm hosed, there's nothing I can do. I guess I'm going to sit here and just try to get in people's way for 45 minutes.
GGLOL. Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks,
exactly.
But I'm out. No,
Right. Yeah.
it plays fast. Your first play will be a little bit tricky. From then
Yeah.
on, you're set, man.
Right.
It's such a good. Another game that pains me did not make my top 10 here.
Yeah.
This is why I did other lists.
This is why I cheated and made a top 30 in 3 different lists.
Pretty much.
I'll try this one out still too.
It's
then.
good. It's really good.
Man. My number 3 is, so there aren't that many games that I can think of outside of the party genre that play well at higher player counts. Cosmic Encounter is one of them that I think does play well at higher player counts, 5, 6. Also in my list for games that play well at higher player counts is going to be Planet Unknown for number 3.
I thought you were going to go with Ready, Set, Bet again.
Yeah.
You said told me.
Right. It's like, so good. I did it twice.
Planet Unknown, you are trying to colonize a desolate planet with tiles, and you're trying to build a civilization on there. You have your little boonduggies to try and drive around and pick up meteorites and transport them back to your space hubs for points. I really like Planet Unknown. I taught it a bunch during Gen Con Online. I wasn't able to go in physical this year, so I taught it online. Very, very fun game, placing polynomial tiles out onto a map. And again, you're asymmetric in this game based on what planet you're trying to colonize, as well as what company you have, what ability you have. I think my first playthrough, I was the water colony that just had a water track that goes every which way, which was hilarious to be able to move onto different tracks to try and get points. Really liked that. I like the points at the end of the game if you're able to complete your entire map, but specializing in the middle column and the middle row to get the most amount of points. I thought that that was fantastic. And the best part about it for me, though, I think, is the simultaneous action selection with that the Lazy Susan in the middle. On your turn, you get to spin it and pick what tile from the little depot that you want. And everyone else is going to get to do the same thing based on what depot is in front of them. Fantastic. Love that it'll be able to play relatively quickly because everyone is taking one tile on their turn and placing it onto their board. I also like how the game doesn't have an artificial end based on rounds. One of the end conditions is just simply not being able to place a tile onto your board.
Okay.
I really like that, that it's not an artificial set round or turn structure for the game. That's going to be Planet Unknown for me. Placing tiles onto a board, moving and picking up your points, and the asymmetric nature of it. I really, really like that one a lot.
This is one of my biggest holes in gaming this year that I haven't tried this one.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. This is, you've been whining a lot about being sad that things, just in general, about things not making your top 10, and this is mine. It pained me to cut this out. But this was my 11, and I love what you said about not having that artificial end. A lot of games, you kind of have those hate turns, right? Where you're like, ooh, I'm going to take this one so so-and-so doesn't take it. This is one of those games where I actually had the opposite effect. I was like, oh, I have to make sure they get this kind of tile, otherwise they can't place anything, which ends the game, and I don't want the game ended.
Exactly, you want to go for a couple
So
more
therefore,
rounds.
I take something else just so that they don't end the game, And
Yep.
so it's one of the few games that I think kind of turns that on its head. It's not hate drafting, it's like gracious drafting. Like, please don't end it.
I know.
Accept my offering,
You gotta look around and see what other people can place to
Right,
influence what you
yeah.
can, even if it's less desirable for you.
But you have to pretend it's pity drafted, like,
Oh.
I'll let you have this
Okay.
one.
And then they
Because I
beat you
can.
and you're like, oh, should have ended it.
I know.
Yeah, good pick.
I promised exclamation points again on my list. And it's time
Caesar 2.
To deliver.
It's time to deliver. No, it is not Caesar 2, unfortunately. This is Resist! This is a
see a
solo-only
picture for this
card
one.
game that...
Oh, yeah.
This is a solo-only card game. The art is done by a graphic novel illustrator. I forget their name, which, sorry, it's so cool. The board game design is by a few people. I should have written some of this stuff down. Trevor Benjamin, I believe. David Thompson is the big one that I can remember. David Thompson is one of the designers that I'm looking out for now, because anytime that he comes out with a game, I've been impressed with it this year. This is a solo card game where you are members of the Spanish Maquis resistance, and you are fighting against an oppressive government. What this does that other solo games haven't really done is it puts you in the driver's seat on so many different actions. You have a little bit of a deck building kind of a game, a flow, but it's like a deck management. You can play people for their weaker side to try to take on these missions, or you can play people for their strong side. The problem is that if the strong side represents these people, members of your resistance group, exposing themselves to the public as actively engaging in acts of resistance against this oppressive government. If they act behind the scenes, if they're being little suppliers, if they're doing light reconnaissance and giving you smaller powers, you get to keep shuffling them, cycling them through your deck. If they come out guns a-blazing to take down one of the Francoist barracks, or to overthrow parts of the government and stuff, they're exposed and they're going to get arrested or worse. It is so thematically integrated between this little system of playing cards, but also the fact that these are people. I mentioned the art because the art is so evocative for me that you never forget that these are people that you're playing with. They're cards. But these cards, they're not little, they're tarot size actually, have more human character to them for me than 100 miniatures could ever do.
But at the same time, it's very simple. It's very simple artwork, it looks like, at the same time. It's just really interesting that it's able to convey so much with such a minimal style.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Purple on one side, red on the other. The art, the color palette is so simple. The ideas of what they are simple, but evocative enough that I'm not going to say I get emotional over a game of it, but when I sit there and go, I need to complete this mission, I'm going to play this person for the strong side ability, and I'm like, oh no, but I really like Julio. I really like having him as part of my team, and I know that I'm sending him away when I do this, but I need to for this mission. It's such an amazingly well done game that it beats out a lot of these heavy Euro games that I really like this year because of that, because it actually makes me feel a little bit more when I play.
Wow, that's cool. That's a huge
love it.
compliment, I feel like.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to
really
take
unique.
your... Oh, sorry.
So I was going to say, really unique compliment. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm going to have to take your word on this one because you lost me at solo. I am not a solo gamer at all. If it's a solo-only
Even less
game
than two-player games.
it is just not for me. I would rather go read a book or something than play something solo. Just not me.
and that's fair. It's
You
a
don't like
bit
feelings
more
either.
of a...
You lost me at solo and feelings.
Yeah. Solo.
And yet, at the same time, this game isn't terribly much more complex than playing a lot of solitaire card games, Klondike Solitaire, whatever they're called. There's more going on, of course, but it's not overwhelmingly difficult, which I think some people who don't want to play solo games, I don't want to set up a big old game. I don't want to set up Endless Winter with its massive array to play it solo.
Right.
This is, you shuffle a few decks of cards and you're good to go.
Yeah.
I could talk about this at length, and I will stop there because I think I've said the nicest things that I want to say. But
Very cool.
yeah, maybe not
Nice.
for everyone, and that's fine that it's not.
Yep.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, speaking of Endless Winter, my number 2 is Endless Winter, Paleo American.
Oh, all right.
Thanks for the segue, Chris.
This is only your number 2.
That is only my number 2. What game am I missing?
Ah.
But let's talk about my number 2 first.
All right.
Do you already know? Did you just get it?
I think-
You think you got it? Okay. My number 2, Endless Winter. I think I was really quiet during yours, so I'm like, no, so many good things to say. No, it's cool. Good pick. quick, sir. No, so
I doff my cap in thine direction.
I really like Endless Winter. I think that this has, once again, I said before, it has a lot of little mechanisms that I like that come together really smoothly. I know there was some discussion when you guys did the review about how well integrated is the theme. I do think that this one is one that you do look for it a little bit more, but when you do look for it, it is absolutely there. You know, it's like, wait, why am I doing that? Oh, of course I'm doing this because it's da 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 da. You know, and so you do look for it. It doesn't hit you in the face, but I think that's because the Euro mechanisms are balanced so well with typically your more American thematic games that are known more just for their thematics. And so I think it's just a really well integration of those two different styles of
So you're
play
saying
here.
Tom is wrong, and I agree.
I am saying Tom is wrong.
Absolutely
Yes,
agree.
I would have said that anyway, but in this case, I actually stand behind it. But yeah, so I really like all the different little things that you can do, and I think that there is power in really hyper focusing on one thing and just letting the other stuff kind of be. But at the same time, I think the opposite is true. If you just go for a more balanced approach and do a little bit of everything, there's power in that as well. I love the hand management of trying to not just decide who you're going to play for their bonuses, but also who you're going to hold back for that eclipse phases. It's a really good all-around balance. It's a balance of the different places on the board. It's a balance of trying to hand management, a balance of what are you going to do during the different phases, which makes for a really interesting puzzle. You know, ultimately you just feel like as you go through, you're working a puzzle where there's no bad choices. There's better choices, don't get me wrong, and you'll find out when it comes to endgame scoring how good your choices were, you know, but it's not like you're not going to be terrible. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to be like, wow, I did not make a single thing right. I was shut out of the game forever, you know, and so it just, the whole time you really feel like everything you do carries weight. But at the same time, everything you do means something and is valuable. But it's also not hard decisions, you know? So it's more about a balance of a lot of different things. And so for that, I mean, Endless Winter just really, really, again, it was a highly anticipated one. But as opposed to Oathsworn, it was like, highly anticipated, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna like this. Endless Winter was like, really anticipated, oh my gosh, please be good. Please be as good as I think you are. And it really did. It really rose to those expectations.
I've never had a chance to play that one yet, but that aside, I like how it hasn't been compared to Dune Imperium or Arnak. Like those two games have been nearly exclusively compared to each other. I think this is distinct and different enough that it just hasn't been compared to that. And I like that. It has its own identity.
Yeah.
Sure, it's deck building and worker placement, but it's very, very different than the other two. And I really like the differentiation between that.
Yeah, it is funny because when the other two came out, this is one that a lot of people did compare. Oh, I'm not going to get Arnak because I'm holding out for Endless Winter. So back then, but you are right that there hasn't been that comparison since it came out, and it really had that the breadth to be able to stand on its own. So no, I think that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
All right, my number 2 is one of those games that is a classic case of don't judge a book by its cover. The cover.
I love ugly games. I love ugly games.
I wouldn't
adores
say that
them.
the cover of this is ugly. It just didn't draw me into playing the game, and B, it doesn't look like it has anything to do with the game. I had a crossover with you already, but now this is going to be my crossover with you.
Probably trash.
Any guesses?
Have you played, is it Revive?
It is Revive. Revive is my number 2.
You think this is ugly?
No, I didn't say that.
Oh.
Don't judge a book by its cover in terms of
The cover
like,
is so.
the cover is way out there.
Yeah.
Then the gameplay is what is the colloquialism that I was trying to.
Got it. Okay, yeah. Okay, I
say.
see
No,
that now.
I don't
Yeah,
think
yeah.
the cover is ugly by any means. I just don't think it has anything to do with what the game looks like, how the game plays. But that's irrelevant. I got to play Revive. It's my number 2. Really, really like this. Surprise, surprise, it's asymmetric. there seems to be a theme with my list. But yeah, like we've all said, the theme is non-existent. But what I like about the game is that you can do so much. Do you want to get your points by exploring the wasteland, flipping over tiles, paying goods to get them? Or do you want to try and specialize in the little gear on your the gears on your player board. What is it? Gears?
Yeah, the machine.
The
tracks and
machines,
stuff.
yeah. I find that fascinating, and even more, that's bolstered by the fact that you can get these little tablets or amulets to put them into your action selection spots to strengthen the actions that you can do on your card. Do you want to place all of your tablets in one section of the game board to make future actions that you play there stronger? Do you want to take tablets to make one color stronger? Or do you want to try and get tablets that'll make all of your actions good, but none of them too great? And you can play cards there on the top of your board and on the bottom of your board for different actions. And I love that card play. I find that really, really cool. And then moving up those tracks on your player board is also cool. I know you touched about it before, where you can unlock different tokens that will allow you to do different things in the game.
Tracks!
Tracks on tracks on tracks. Now, it looked a little intimidating at first, at least for me, the player board, to see all the little design, the
interwoven
junction.
kind of track.
that,
Yeah.
yes. But again, once you're in the game and playing, it's not so bad. And then getting those points like that, getting your energy. This is also a game where when you take your rest action, it's still a pretty good action to take. You're still getting
interesting.
stuff depending on how far up that track you go. And then the little alien heads that you get for completing your personal objectives are
Again, theme.
alien.
Heads with the lotus flower.
I think they're meteorites, but they look like the head of aliens.
They look like a
That's
xenomorph. They're like
fantastic.
it's unfortunately pubescent. It's got a little bit of like acne going on, but it's an alien head, that's for sure.
And also,
That's
fun
funny.
fact, and I digress. Alien, from the movie, was based on a little deep sea creature.
I believe it. After looking at the dragonfish that you recommended I Google,
Yep.
which I will go rinse out my eyes once
Right,
I'm done with this top 10.
I'm going to go enjoy my nightmares tonight.
But,
Thank you.
But Revive is cool. When you explore, you're hopefully going to be on the intersection of tiles. So when you're the one to explore, you can orient that tile to let you get the benefits of moving up those tracks. But also, there's a little bit of chicken in it in terms of, do I explore on my second action, hoping you guys don't go there, so I can hopefully go there on my future turn, to the point where it's almost better where you explore as your first action, so then you can place something there on your turn to prevent other people from getting that. Revive, I really, really like. There's, I think, 6 factions in the game that you can play, and each faction has 2 sides that you can play on. I've only played one character on one of the sides, but it's something that I definitely want to delve back into once it's more widely distributed in the U.S. I think it's still
I don't know if it is distributed at all in the U.S. yet.
really,
Oh, really?
One of the
Okay.
perks of being a friend of the Dice Tower.
one of the perks. Exactly, I
geez.
get to play games that aren't even
Nice.
out here officially yet.
All right, I need to check that one out. That's really cool.
Revive
You-
is
you
really
should.
cool. You do your own thing. I like being different than you. I like being different than you.
I like being different from you. That is one of my best qualities.
It makes the world go round.
Yeah.
You said, I mean, I wouldn't say the theme's not there, but like with Endless Winter, you said you have to kind of dig for the theme. Like Endless Winter, you have to kind of brush aside and be like,
Okay.
theme. Get the backhoe,
Got
but
it.
it is
yeah.
there.
Got it.
And the other thing I want to say, JJ,
JJ,
thank you for the super chat. Very generous.
Yes.
All right.
If I didn't say it, I think Revive's a great pick. So
Yes.
my
Maybe a
number
little
one,
too high, but still.
about 8 spaces too. No, my number one is going to be nobody else's number one. Like absolutely nobody else, and I'm okay with that. Like if Resist was my number 2, it was sort of an out of left field pick. I think that no one else is going to say that this is like a perfect game. But for me, my number one, hands down, will not be a surprise to people once I say it. It's Caesar's Empire. This is. This is the game that I gave
I
a
was
10
waiting
to
for this one. I was like, where is it? There it is.
I said this, is this my favorite game from this year or not? But I am so excited for the Dice Tower Cruise to come up so I can teach this to a lot of people. This is such an awesome game to teach to people and watch them start to understand the game, because the rules are put out a road, get a city, get the good on the city, collect different things of the same thing. It's kind of like vegetable stock, where I love games that are so simple to teach, and yet as you're playing them, you're saying like, okay, cool, yeah, do this thing, or do that thing, or oh, cool. You figure out that there is something more to it than it just looks like.
So what you're saying is he is playing the game, because you pretty much just described his face right there. Oh, you can't see it in that scene, I forgot. He's like, ooh, or.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Wendy drew a little dice guy for me.
Oh, I wasn't looking at that.
That's
Okay,
awesome.
I was just looking at the box cover.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Use
Yeah,
that then.
uh-huh.
I'm in a toga.
Toga.
Oh,
Toga.
no. I can't see my eyes.
I think toga actually suits me well. I'm gonna get that, and the cute little like
Winged
leaves,
glasses.
the leaf things on the side.
Leaf glasses,
yeah, like a little laurel crown. I think I should have dressed up for the occasion.
No, you should not have.
I should have dressed
You
up
look
for the
you look dapper today. Stick with this.
Spot on.
dapper.
Also, I want my shirt back.
I don't think your shirt would fit me this good. No, Caesar's Empire is such a fun game. Route building, which I love. Set collection, which I love. All in a very straightforward package that has enough depth to keep me playing it. And it's so fast. So fast. I'm excited to teach this to more people. So if you're ever at a Dice Tower convention and you say, hey, Chris, do you want to play a game? Would you be interested in playing Caesar's Empire? The answer is yes. Come up to me. I'm approachable. Also, I will crush you.
Ooh, promises.
I love it. This is my favorite game of the year.
Very
Caesar's
nice,
Empire.
very nice. All right, Chris, what's my number one? You said you knew.
So this one surprised me
Okay.
that I think this is one that was pretty unanimously loved,
Okay.
right? Am I right so far?
So far, so good.
Okay. Should I be listening to Goldfinger and Red Hot Chili Peppers, the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater soundtrack?
Yes, you should. I'm like, oh no, well, listen to what you want to. I'm not your mom. Yes, it is Skate Summer. This one, and I think that this one just soared to the top, not only because it is a great game and how much I love of it, but also because it just caught me by such surprise. You know, skating, I think it's such a unique theme. My son is really into skateboarding, and so the theme, I think it could have really easily been done poorly. You know, like
Oh, yeah.
like with the theme, with the mechanisms, with trying to evoke kind of that 90s nostalgic kind of feel to it, but it's not. It just comes together so well. The game surprised me, and I also think that it's, again, a really good marriage of a lot of mechanisms. It has those two very different phases of the game as well. One where you're on your skateboard and trying to show off and do your tricks, but then the second phase where you're actually going out into the town to see where those tricks took you through the town, to what different items you could collect. A lot of shout outs to the Tony Hawk video game. If you were into that, I wasn't into that, but I can still appreciate it and get into the theme of the game without that background. You know, I really, really like this game. I love that. I love multi-use cards. You know, and in this one, I think it has kind of a little twist on it too, where it's not multi-use cards. Am I going to use it for this or this? But you're looking for that. I'm going to get two uses out of this card. Which of these cards give me the best options for those two uses? You know, so you're going to use it on your skateboard to perform that trick to try to maintain your balance, but then you're also going to use that color once you go into the city to see what different paths you can take. And so it's multi-use, but instead of, you know, do I want it this or this? It's like, I want this and this, and trying to maintain that balance, both on your board and in the town, which I just think is fantastic.
You're terrible! You're terrible! You're as bad as me! You're terrible!
But I moved on really quickly. I was like, let's go. And so I really think that this one caught me off guard. It stands really fantastic on its own. The mechanisms just draw you in, the theme draws you in, the mechanisms keep you there. It's fantastic. Push your luck, but you can recover from it as well. That push your luck is not game destroying. So even if you fall off your skateboard, you're still pretty cool because you tried. You know? So I was like, yes,
Now you sound like a
that's
mother.
so dumb teenager. I love it. Yes, let
Not
me
bad.
relive that. You know, like I was stupid. I broke my arm, but man, was I cool doing it. You know, like I just think this game just brings so much of that together. I absolutely love Skate Summer. It caught me off guard, soared to the top early this year, and just stayed there.
I didn't think this was going to be your number one, but it was
Me
one of those
either.
like, where is that showing up?
Yeah.
Where is it showing up?
I would have said top 5, but as I was doing this, I was like, nope. It just was not dethroned. I absolutely adore this game.
Shout out to Avril Lavigne. He was a skater boy, and I said, see you later.
Did you? So we've got a lot of history from you today. I'm really sorry. Therapy session.
All right. Last but not least, my number one was a game that I played this summer and didn't really think much about it after that until I was at Dice Tower Retreat and I got to play it more, and I realized how much I loved that first playthrough to the point where I taught it to multiple groups of people at the Dice Tower Retreat. This game, I'm just going to come out and say it's Space Station Phoenix.
Oh,
It's another
okay.
poll
By-
in my gaming this year.
Yes.
by
mine too.
Rio Grande. I absolutely love this game. It's my number one game of the year. I don't know where to begin. The replayability value, extremely high, through the roof, to the point where you have bunch of different well, first of all, in this game, you're trying to build up a space station by getting metal and other resources to build up your space station in space. I guess Earth is uninhabitable. I don't know. Doesn't matter. But you're trying to build a space station, hence the name of the game. And
In space, no one can hear
but-
Earth scream.
and so the mechanics behind this game are action selection and even engine building. And I really like in this game how you are on the one hand building an engine, which is your space station, but in order to do so, you have to deconstruct and destroy your other engine. And that is coming in the form of cards that everyone starts the game with. Again, everyone starts the game with different cards. And during your turn, you're going to be taking actions to get resources from cards or other abilities. You're going to be moving up tracks in order to get resources potentially on other people's turns if you're the person that's the highest on the action selection that other people have taken. I find that really, really cool. Turns are also very quick. I go one action, then you go. And I think the bread and butter of this game lies on, do you want to just stick to using your ships to get resources in order to build up your space station? Or do you want to come over here and take your stuff to prevent you from getting resources from the ship?
I do.
Yes. Spoiler alert. Yes, I
would
do.
recommend not doing
Yes,
that
I'll have to
option.
pay a little bit more. I got to pay you some extra tax for using your stuff.
Oh,
All
never
right.
mind.
All right.
But the satisfaction from knowing that you can't use that until you collect income on your turn to free up that ship is just awesome. And I love the juxtaposition between building one engine and destroying another in order to build that one engine up. Very, very cool. The card play is great. Do you want to destroy your good ships or ships that you have duplicates of, knowing that you can just capitalize on other people's ships? Because destroying your own ships is really the only way to it's the best way to get metal, which is required in order to build your space station. And the space station tiles, I guess, vary between games that you play, as do your starting central space station hub, I guess. Again, more asymmetry among players. You're getting aliens to try and colonize your space station, and sometimes the pesky creeper humans. I think they're called
As
humanoids
they are.
or
Don't,
whatnot.
don't get me started on humans.
Yeah, the worst of all species.
Yeah, but the game for me is just fascinating. I highly recommend everyone to play Space Station Phoenix. It's one that I'll certainly be coming back to whenever I get another opportunity to. Space Station Phoenix is awesome.
Yeah,
And that's going to be my number one game of the year.
I'll have to check it out. Awesome.
Yeah, I do need to try that one. I love the idea of destroying something to build something else up. It makes you think of like Dominion, where you start shoveling useless cards into your deck, but they're also victory points. Like, that's neat.
I don't know another game that you can destroy something to build it up like that.
I'll tell you what, Alex. You have sold me on this game, and not even Tom Vassell could do that.
All right.
Actually, no, he made me really interested in the game yesterday. But I'm also still interested in it now.
All right, Chris, bring us home here.
All right. So, by bring us home, you mean...
What's your number one? I'm trying to subtly give you a hint to go. That was so subtle.
I went...
What?
Oh, you went first.
went
Oh, that's
first.
it. Oh,
What?
it's back to me. Fantastic. I'm so subtle. Got myself. Let me call myself out on that one. Fantastic. All right.
I'll bring us home. My number 1 was Caesar's Empire.
Fantastic.
Wild.
Shocker. All right, well, we had really diverse lists. That was kind of fun. I think that only the 2 crossovers, both with Alex, for one of each of us. So very interesting. Awesome. All right, folks. Well, that was our top 10. Stick around. We have one more live play today. We're going to see Feed the Kraken here in just 12 minutes. We'll have a larger group playing that, and then lots of top 10s to come here. So we'll be back shortly. I'm Camilla Cleghorn.
I'm Alex Marks.
I'm Chris Yee in a toga.
Toga, toga.